Hi, my name is Jana. I'm a dark fantasy artist and book illustrator. And lately I'm trying to go out into nature more. This year has been too busy to keep up what has once been a reliable habit for me, the daily walk. Now, as everything is slowing down, it's time to leave the house again, and what better reason than witnessing the changing of the seasons. Autumn came late this year, but now it is in full swing, foliage changing to orange and yellow, dry leaves rustling under my feet, and mushrooms sprouting along the forest path, the rich smell of leaves slowly turning into soil, the soft fall of raindrops, the last rays of sunlight. There's beauty and wonder to be found in any weather. It's my favorite time of the year. It's so easy to find inspiration for an artist like me, who's inspired by the gloomy side of nature. Every few steps I stop to take a photo. There, a magical tree, and there, beautiful mushrooms. I'm still feeling shy about filming myself in public, which is strange considering I'm already well known to the local dog walkers as the weirdo kneeling in moldy leaves and mud to get a better angle on a tree stump. Adding a tripod to the scene shouldn't change a whole lot. As I keep taking photos, I can't wait to spend time painting what I have found, to get better acquainted with the warm colors of autumn and the delicate textures of decay. I've bought a new set of watercolors recently. The paint swatches printed in the catalog simply look too enticing, I couldn't say no. For somebody primarily painting in grayscale, I'm a bit of a sucker for nice colors. It's my first large set of watercolors. Usually I just buy the colors I run out of, and this felt like a decadent splurge, even if Mijello is comparatively cheap for professional grade watercolors, which makes me skeptical whether that's what they are. Though, to be fair, I still primarily use my mum's old student grade watercolor sets, so I doubt I can judge that sort of thing properly. This paint is supposed to be granulating particularly well, which I'm all for as I love that nice texture, though it will drive the control freak in me mad. Hence, I am both excited to test my new art supplies and work with my autumnal references. I start with a leaf study and a painting of a twig covered by lichen. The greenish blue colors are lovely and I'm itching to replicate their beauty on paper. As you can tell, I didn't film much of the process. The culprit is often my phone needing to be charged. By the time it is ready for filming, I'm already so engrossed by my painting, I can't be bothered to stop. That's why we'll have to make do with the material I do have. The first two studies feel frustrating. I haven't done a watercolor painting in a while, and I'm happy to blame me being rusty, happy to blame the paper not being the hot pressed watercolor paper I'm used to, happy to blame the new paints. Ultimately, the reason is mostly me not being as good a watercolor painter as I'd like to be. I also notice how I feel like rushing the pieces, impatience taking over. I don't let paint dry when it needs to. I work with it as I would in acrylics. That's not all though. In recent years I've noticed becoming increasingly impatient and easier distracted, unable to focus as fully as I used to. For this I blame my increased smartphone use, but it's not simply that. I don't use my smartphone that much really. It's social media in general too, the need to keep posting, but also that insidious shift to short form video. I don't have TikTok and I try not to end up on the Reels feed or watch shorts, but it's everywhere. Good luck escaping. Then there is a culture with a focus on speed and productivity, an obsession with optimizing the use of every minute of the day. How can I sink fully into the painting process, meditate over drying paint, when there's content to produce? I have taken this self-indulgent time to paint something for myself, so I better make it count. I only have this afternoon after all, and then it's back to client work, the important art, paying the bills. The lichen twig turns out terribly. When I start a study of 2 mushrooms, I end up adding one of my old watercolor paints, a highly pigmented blue. The Mijello watercolors all tend to dry very light, and I miss a nice rich dark color in there. Still, the painting feels like an absolute mess. Frustrated, I go for another walk. When I get back, the painting is dried. The paint had a chance to develop its beautiful textures, and I'm mollified. It's not as bad as I thought. I rather like it now. I decide to start a simple conceptual portrait based on my studies. Usually my sketches are done digitally nowadays. It is simply more efficient when working with clients. However, I want to be purposefully inefficient, reduce the amount of time I spend looking at screens. I want to return to the way I used to create art. Before illustration became my job and when I mostly just painted for fun. I start in my sketchbook, figuring out the best way to have mushrooms grow from a vase, the important stuff. I sketch until I find a composition that feels just right, until my brain supplies me with a title. The CRS. Yes, reading our future in fungi as we decay seems appropriate. I start working on a more detailed sketch, this time using references. The drawing is a bit wonky, but I'm happy enough with it to transfer it to my watercolor paper. I'm using Fabriano hot pressed paper for this. As you can tell, I didn't film the painting process again. My phone wasn't charged. Again. I'm still frustrated by the process. While I'm taking breaks to let the paint dry now, I'm working very carefully, worried about making mistakes. In the back of my mind, I remember the studies that just didn't work out. There's the shadow under the chin that keeps becoming lighter than the surrounding area when it dries. No matter how often I add darker paint, it's as if I'm just pushing the pigment away with water instead of adding more pigment. It feels like a joke the paint is having at my expense. At some point, I simply give up. The painting only gets better when I act more boldly, care less about the outcome. The next day, I decide to add details with colored pencils. I feel more at home with pencils. I'm secretly more of a draftsperson than a painter. I like using Derwents, they're nice and soft, but the occasional Faber-Castell pencil might make an appearance. I simply have more of them. While going in with pencils means I can get detailed faster as I have more control over the medium, it also bears the risk of overworking the watercolor painting, taking away the magic of its wild textures. When I'm somewhat satisfied with the drawing, I pick up my high pigmented blue again. I want that background to be darker. I want the entire piece to look more cohesive, and adding a color on top can help with that. Afterwards, I add some sepia ink for even more darkness. I'm done with the work now. I know I will eventually scan it and finalize it digitally. I guess I could also get out my acrylic or water-soluble oil paints and work on top of the watercolor, but there's just this impatience again. Digital will be so much faster! After putting my painting away to dry, I paint my own watercolor swatches. During the painting process, I noticed some colors look significantly different from the official color chart, so I needed my own. To be fair, at some point all paint just becomes a slush on my palette, but I don't want to be surprised by what comes out of the paint tubes in the future. Overall, I think the paint is fine. It's overall vibrant, it re-wets easily. As far as I can tell, the promised granulation is taking place. There are a few colors I already like a lot, like Island Orange, and some I'm disappointed by, like Grass Green. Though that one looks really nice once you blend it with some brown. It's just way brighter than advertised I think they were. taking their product photos in the dark. I don't know. I'm missing some lovely deep dark colors, but I suppose for those I just need to spend more coin. If you have any recommendations for high pigmented browns, blues and reds with little granulation that actually look super dark when dried, not just when they're wet, when they've actually dried, please let me know. Thank you, you're saving an artist. Overall, I got a lot of paint for my money. I'll keep using it in combination with the paint I already own, and some tubes will empty faster than others, which is the case for all watercolor I've ever used. I'm always rebuying the blues and the greens and the umbras, so then again, I'm not much of a watercolor artist. I just dabble. I've never used like really super expensive, high pigmented professional watercolor paint, so I guess I just don't know really what to compare them to. But anyhow, thank you for watching. I hope you're finding as much inspiration in the beauty of autumn as I have before we all get ready to hibernate through the darkest time of the year. Wait, what? Humans are still not allowed to hibernate? We have to pretend it's just business as usual? And how is that legal? How is that still the way things are? That's just not okay. Can you hear her purr? Oh my god, Shushu. Are you going to be famous for your purring? This is not helping me. This is not helping. No, it is not. Can we get you closer to the mic? Oh yes. This was Lady Purring.